go through. So let's just start at the top. One thing I'll say is this. Let's go to the top here.
Season 3, so
so at the start you said this thing that I thought was very weird, right? Which is you said something about playing Doublelift in season 3 scrims. You playing him in scrims, I think you were saying.
Yes.
Right, here's the problem with that. That is far and away the worst year of Doublelift's career, as far as I'm concerned. It's the one where the team is dog shit. I'll get into that in a second, because I couldn't believe what you said about those players, mate. Listen, I'm not hating on you, but I think we'll just have a little back and forth on that.
Sure.
I think that was as easily his worst year. And the problem I have with that one is, yes, that gives you more information, but that information doesn't count. As in, again, you said at the beginning, the criteria is LCS 2013 to 2021. That doesn't count what you did in scrims. Now, that might mean holistically... That's not
even a core part of my point, though.
No, I'm just saying it as an aside for people watching the video, mate. I'm not battling you. The people who are going to watch are going to go, so from scrims, Don knows he was better. It's irrelevant who was better in scrims. It only matters what you did in the league. It doesn't fucking matter if someone... Okay, but I'm just saying, it doesn't matter if you smurfed every scrim, doesn't matter if you was terrible in scrims. If you win the game, I'm sorry, in the same way as it doesn't fucking matter that in Season 9 at Worlds, apparently Damwon shit on G2 every time. All that history cares about is G2 beat Damwon. That's all that matters. The other thing doesn't, there's no such thing as a Scrim God Award, because spoiler, that even players that absurdly get way higher on the list if there was. Just throwing that out there, right? Now, I will say, you did then go into Season 3, right? This is where I have some of my biggest contentions, but it's just, I actually thought the characterization was so weird, because I don't know. Listen, you were a player back then. I don't know if you were thinking about the historical context. So I'll give you an example. You actually said that when the Season 3, so there's no Bjergsen, this is just Doublelift. Season, because you were making the case that Doublelift began his LCS career not that well.
Where
right?
I believe, so essentially I believe that this was an attempt at a super team.
Oh, no, because here's the problem. I know what you mean. You're a couple of years off. I'll give you an example. So you know the players.
I'm talking about those players. So
I do it. Let me give you. Okay, here we go. So the mid laner is Big Fat LP. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Big Fat LP was washed for well over a year at that point in time. He was the fucking player that made CLG shit in the open season in 2012. It was 2011. He was a god. In 2012, famously, he was fucking whack. And this is 2013. The real problem here, Dom, is this, and I'm telling you, even at the time, this was actually something that I remember being discussed. It was like, is CLG just going to run these players forever? People even said at the time, Hotshot GG was playing in top lane, guys.
This was when Link was the mid laner. So this is when...
Is this spring? Wait there a second.
So in spring, I mean, unless I have my timer. So what
let me double check. Go on.
So I think that Link is the mid laner and Big Fat LP is not playing, and then he comes back as a jungler in summer.
Oh, sorry, right. Oh, no, you've got it. You're right. It was Link. There you go, right? Yeah. First things first, Link at this point in time had only played for CLG Black. He was never a world-class mid laner, god player, whatever. Saying that's a super team, mate. It's like, imagine I'll bring a rookie in now. How could it be a super team with a rookie?
Well,
you admit in the Bjergsen argument, and I agree with you. The reason also Bjergsen wins, spoiler, is mid lane is the best role in the league in history and will be the only role ever that can always carry in theory. I don't really believe there's ever a true supportive mid.
I'll give context to
So
this.
Doesn't that mean that Link is the most important player and he's a fucking rookie?
So he's a rookie, but everyone's a rookie. So and that's the thing that's
that can't work. That can't work like that.
I mean, it's like Jintei and Shifter, the people that got second are he's competing against Jintei.
Oh, I see what you mean in that sense. Okay, but you're saying because you're comparing history. You're comparing this to the other years of the LCS because you're saying Doublelift had a super team. So here's my problem: Link in no sense is like a super team player. He's just a rookie player, and I know what you mean by rookie, as in there's other rookies. But because of Season 2 and Season 11, in the true sense of a rookie, loads of the other players are expert players. You have to say Vicious and Scara and Vaughn. You were there. You weren't there for that season. But you know what I mean? Those people have been around years. Sure. So I know what people do. It would be the first season of LCS, but we can't count Season 2, but it did happen.
Yeah, sure, definitely. So for context, Link is somebody he's not just a rookie as in...
He's a very promising one. He played in the open season of CLG Black, yeah.
He's an absolutely top tier rookie where people are fighting over him.
Yeah.
People are top teams are fighting over him. So at this time, I can give you context because I was on Dignitas at the time. We were trying to pick up Link. Link had the option to go anywhere pretty much besides for TSM. TSM was the only one where Reginald was the king, he's going to go there. Okay. Dignitas, so when you look at the top 3 teams in NA at that point, it was TSM, Dignitas, and CLG, right? Dignitas and CLG, we were fighting over this player because we thought he was that insane. He was somebody who was massively hyped rank 1, and his mechanics were just different than what everyone had seen before. So like when I'm looking at it, it's not just like, oh, it's a super team. Like it's not in the same context as right now. But when I look at players like Link, when I look at players like Afro, like those are the new players. And like Afro was somebody who is known to be just insane. You know, he was another player that was at the top of the fucking ladder. He was another one that people wanted. A bunch of people wanted him within LCS, which is why these people didn't have to qualify. Like you got to remember, only 3 people qualified to LCS in season 3 from regionals: Dignitas, CLG, and TSM. And normally everyone else is fighting their way in. This is the one where High famously like didn't make it in with C9, and this is why C9 didn't play in spring, because they actually failed in this qualifier. And these players just got to bypass all of that. They were in the tier where people were like, yeah, just get them on a fucking LCS team no matter what. They were in that tier where they already had enough hype and they had enough prestige where people were not saying like, oh, is he, because this is when you have like Team Marn and you have like random fucking teams in LCS. It wasn't even a question of like going towards those teams, which are, by this context, it would be like full rookie teams, right? Like a Team Marn, a team.
Oh, they're nobodies, yeah.
Yeah, they're nobodies. So like, sure, they're rookies, but it's not the same as like a rookie coming in now where you're playing against like 8 veteran players.
I know what you mean, but here's the point, because we're not going to have time to go. We can't do 10 minutes on every point, mate. Like, that's the problem. It was a 1 hour video for you. So here's the problem with that angle. You're comparing it to like when Bjergsen plays later with other people at ADC. Motherfucker, he's not taking a guy who's never played at the LCS level. I don't care how hyped. And then just being like, well, it counts. You were making a super team. It can't be a super team. That's the problem. You're picking someone who's never done it. Sure. You value winning in championships. This guy, by the way, the reason he could look amazing is because since he was on CLG Black, there was no expectations. They never had to win a tournament. They never had to go deep into a finals. He never had to be experienced. He never had to go international. Never did any of that. So my point is, look, spoiler, later on, Link never makes it. Link's one of the all-time chokers, my dude. Like, I watched his career. He was really talented. I always say this. People think I'm exaggerating. I was
playing in the game. He was choking versus me live. I was looking at him like, yeah, that guy's fucking choking. So.
Oh, mate, I always used to say the joke of Link's career is this. What makes him look shit and has ruined his career is that poor Belter, I think, was actually a slightly weaker version of the same player. Like a skilled rookie, like everyone knows he's good, but he just held his nerve and just claimed mid. And the joke is that made them win championships. Whereas when Link was there, he probably was more talented. He just never got through it. And by the way, he did only try a few years. This was back when your career could end after 3 years. Like, if he had a normal career, he had 4 or 5 years, maybe he breaks through. Maybe he does what like Larson does and you level up each year. So I agree he was a talent. He's not the same as a total nobody, but that's not the same as having like coming in. Like, put it this way, no matter what you think of Skara's a veteran player, man. Reginald's a veteran player. These guys have been at Worlds, they've won championships. Like, that's you can't. How can I have the super team with the rookie mid if you've got the guy who's just fucking won regional last year? Like you said, if the guy was winning all the NA championships, that's the super team, my dude. You kept the same lineup together. So this is the other angle. That's Link. Then let's go to another one. How the fuck did Hotshot GG never come out your mouth? Owner of the team, I'll tell you, I used to know people in CLG. They thought he had no business being in the lineup and he just couldn't let go of playing. He was fucking garbage in season 3 and he already had started to drop off late in season 2. If you remember in season 2, by the end,
he played jungle.
He even played fucking jungle because the joke is that's the only way he could stay in the team. They had to do that. So Hotshot had no business being it. So already it can't be a super team. And then let's be real, like Chowster jungle was like, he just used his brain. He was just so far ahead of people in the early years. He could actually play every role because he just understood the roles. He wasn't actually some sick jungler.
He was good. He was a good jungler for the time.
But he can't be a super team player for a jungle though. Come on.
Sure, I mean,
like, Vicious is here, mate. You know.
Yeah, I mean the word super team I think is being like stretched here to like, mean something that it's not. I'm essentially saying that he has a roster that should be able to like compete. They should not be a fifth place roster.
They should on paper. I agree. They should on paper have been able to even win the
finals.
And where they
third.
And when they finish is a disgrace. Now, you obviously go into the famous thing everyone's going to say, like, but they all messed around and played Diablo and Street Fighter 3, and then they needed to get a coach because they're all lazy. That's true. All that's true. By the way, that doesn't mean Doublelift gets a pass. But my issue is this, right? For example, when you go to the playoffs, it's the way you make the argument. So, you know, when you say you finish 5th to 6th, and your angle sort of, which I'm going to take for later as well, is like, if you're so great, you finish 5th to 6th. Like, how could you be 5th to 6th? Like, you've got to at least like go further or whatever. First of all, that's going to age really badly because you didn't apply that ever to Bjergsen in any of the rest of the seasons of his career. But that same exact logic, all I'm taking is the logic, mate. That same logic should apply to him. But you know what I think is going to happen when I go and show you Bjergsen finishing there? You're going to add in all the context like I've just done. So here's another angle for you, right? Then you say, and this is just a quick one because you look at it at Gamepedia, you're not watching. By the way, you're not going to go and watch 6 years of GGU playing. Who cares? Well, I agree. But I'll just make a very quick point. When you say that angle, like GGU, like they're all fucking nobodies and rookies and they make it to the finals. Yeah, from the other side of the bracket. Like, here's what I would say. Do you remember who GGU then became afterwards?
Ghost.
Yeah, they became Coast, right? With the same players, which then became a fairly irrelevant team, right? This was a fluke run. Not only that, when you say, and GGU's making it, well, they're on the other side of the bracket. Who stopped Doublelift? Vulcan, who the next split becomes the second best team in NA in the league, except they don't win the semi.
Yeah, I mean, this is a team that becomes decent, but Vulcan is not like a decent team during this part of the year. I mean, like they're a losing team. They're
my point is this:
almost all their matches.
I actually think Vulcan's better than GGU. It's just Vulcan was on the side of the bracket with TSM. I think Vulcan would have fucking won if they played GGU in the final, mate.
Yeah. I just don't.
Anyway, it's whatever. That's by the side. Go on.
Sure. I mean, I think that GGU like actually gives a run. Like they almost win finals. This isn't like a finals. Like if you go and watch the matches, it's not a finals where it's like TSM dominates them like all the time.
Of course not.
It's a close fucking finals that goes to 5 games, and it becomes like a thing of like, all right, like who's gonna stop Zion Spartan? But this is my point: is that like this was a time where you could fucking carry. Like you could fucking carry, and it's Double was playing versus Zuna. Zuna was like he was okay. Bad. He was clutch kind of. He was like a hype guy who sometimes could rise to the occasion. But like Doublelift should be carrying these games, and this is the period where Doublelift is literally just getting caught out. The whole thing is they put all the resources into Doublelift, and he just doesn't carry the game. He just makes like dumb mistakes, and that's like where it's like, oh well, you know, maybe when he was playing with Choster and when he had all that you know respect in season 2, maybe it's because he was getting micromanaged and he doesn't actually have the brain for it.
Yeah, sure, that's a legit argument. Yeah,
which I think is something that we see consistent for like years after this, where when he's playing with supports that are not like super brainiacs or they're not well-known supports, he's actually not able to know what he should be doing in the game. So I think this comes up in 2016 spring. So in my opinion, I mean, you can argue like the semantics of the super team. My point is that he has a roster that should be at minimum 3rd or 4th. Like,
yeah, I'm with you on that. At a minimum, there was 4 good teams in the league, and he didn't make top 4. There you go.
I mean, and even the 4 good teams, like let's be real here. This is Dignitas. Crumbs is literally going to I mean, you've heard the story. He's literally leaving in the middle of the split to go like fuck a girl in Brazil. You know, like,
I will say, a lot of people don't know this because TSM wins the split. Curse and Dignitas were the dominant teams of this split. You can go back and watch how the split went. That's just how it was. That's how this league began.
At the beginning, and then they started falling off further.
Yeah, but I mean, like Curse was like had something mentally like 14-4, and then Dignitas took over and they're winning billion games. So these weren't bombs. It was certainly not bad. And then the one other thing I'll say, because this is where I just think, look, I actually think you just genuinely forgot this because it's very easy to forget. Afro Moo in season 3 was nowhere near as some elite world-class support player.
Sure.
That was actually the season where there's a reason why they swapped Chouster back in, mate. I even heard behind the scenes after the Chouster one, because by the way, the summer one is a fucking disgrace of a team, so we can get into that in a sec. But the reason why Afro Moo gets to come back in season 4, I heard behind the scenes, is basically because, like, I think at the time they wanted Special, but he wouldn't just leave TSM then. And I even heard, Bloodwater, who was in the GGU team, and Vulcan, I heard Doublelift wanted him, and then in the end, they just sort of agreed, like, well, we know Afro Moo, so we'll give him another chance. It was only season 4, in my opinion, Afro Moo becomes some super duper support. Sure. So I will say, I think what you just said, you went from being a super mechanically skilled player. On top of that, like you're a super mechanically skilled player in season 2. In season 3, you dick around and play Diablo and Street Fighter, and you lose the guy who was your brain in lane, and he goes jungle. And now you bring in a guy who's basically a rookie support player, swapped from ADC, and he's not that good himself. Like Doublelift wasn't ever going to succeed in that way. Now, sure, that means he's not as good a player. I'm not making the argument. I'm just pointing out some of the other elements I thought needed to be pointed out. And then the other thing is. Go to summer, mate, that summer lineup is a fucking atrocity. Like, I actually think it's a miracle that Monty got them to like 56 and maybe he could have even done more, mate. You look at that lineup, like, Big Fat LP can get the fuck out. I watched those games. It was a fucking joke. Their team was
playing Nocturne and stuff like that.
I don't care what anyone ever said. Neon Tonso was average at best at top lane. He was a skilled player because he was an ADC, but he was just average at best at top lane. He was never some world-class player. People like Dyrus would smurf on him, mate. And then you just look at the team in general. They got Chouster back. Everyone remembers what I'm going to say. That fucking Sona game in the playoffs where he just flashed like
misses ult.
He did like an ult like into a fucking Doctor Strange portal or something. Like, it never happened. So that, by the way, spoiler, was how the split went. Do you know what? I won't say who, but I alluded to this on Twitter. Doublelift wasn't very happy with that, mate, and he definitely didn't want Chouster in his team again. It's just bizarrely that won't appear in an interview or something I might not have done, you know. That's just a little shot at Doublelift. Skip past that, because I agree, season 3 is the wackest. And anyway, there wasn't Bjergsen anyway. So we're basically just making the case, like, oh, it's the thing of, like, Doublelift
the start
didn't
of his
start
career,
as well.
I would say that but, like, it's one of those things where I don't consider him one of the best players in the league in season 3. Like, I don't like. I don't think that he's.
If I had to guess,
at all.
He'd probably be like the 7th best player. I actually think this wasn't a great split for him, by the way. If you don't know, guys, he would try and do the season 2 shit. Like, I'll just play a Vayne. It's like, into what lane? And how are you going to do it? And just get caught on the side.
He would pop off every now and then. But
of course.
It was one of those things where, like, the whole reason why they're putting big fat LP even in the team is they're like, we just need people that are going to like do the strategy that we want to do, and this strategy is like raise Doublelift, raise Doublelift, try to play around him, and then like hopefully he fucking carries the game. And sometimes he does it, like sometimes he doesn't. But overall, I just don't think that he's playing at an elite level.
Oh, he's garbage. Compared to the GOAT conversation, he's not irrelevant in this season. Okay, but my problem is this. Two things. One, because I knew CLG, they weren't thinking any of that stuff. Like, they might obviously have thought that as one reason. Here's why they brought those players back, Dom. Because it's CLG. They liked Chowster. They liked Big Fat LP. They just forced them into the lineup. The joke was there was a billion people at jungle who would have been better at fucking Big Fat LP. He never played jungle before. They just put him in because, bro, he was our legend and we don't want to play an LCS without him. That was what I heard behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, but like, who the fuck could actually play? Like, this is where there weren't many players. There was like, because you got to remember that this is also the context of lane swaps and things like that, where like, if you didn't have experience in a pro game, you literally could not make the transition from solo queue into competitive at this point.
Yeah, sure.
You needed time to fucking scrim. You needed time to integrate. You needed time to just remember. You literally just had to like practice the information where it's like, this is how you 2v1, this is how many camps you take, this is the wave you have to be there, you have to count the wave. Like, this is where the game is more methodical in that respect. So I actually don't think that there were that many better options. Like, from somebody that was jungling, like, I was on the outside of LCS at this point, and I played against all the amateur. Like, I was playing against all the amateur junglers, and it was like, me and Meteos were good, everyone else was just like, I mean, I don't even know if there was a better jungler outside of Big Fat LP. What do you mean?
High was a jungler?
Well, I mean, he was playing on Cloud9 at that point as mid lane.
Oh, in summer it was, yeah. Okay, right. Whatever.
Want to see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, you know, be a pleb and don't.